And greetings. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here live and on demand on BlazeTV, radio, and podcast. I am Steve Deace. He is Todders, and he is Aaron McIntyre. We've got a ton to get to, a ton going on, so let's get right to it. Let's start with a very important announcement right here off the top. And I missed this on Friday, and that's my bad. It just got buried in my inbox because my inbox gets buried daily. And so forgive me, if your name is Rebecca Hogue, this is a few days late for you. But your husband, Matt, first of all, Matt, I'm going to do you a solid and not let your wife know that you put in a fairly large radio or email to a fairly large podcast the age of your wife that she is turning today. I've got your back. I'm going to just assume that was just, you're excited, to be married to the great Rebecca Hogue and weren't even thinking. So I'm going to take that part out, all right? Because you go on to say this is her birthday, March 31st. She's as pretty as ever, wonderful wife, mom, and teacher, and she's been side by side through many ups and downs. I'm grateful to the Lord for her. So Rebecca Hogue, if that is you, your husband, Matt, sent this to me. It's my fault, not his. It just got buried on Friday. So hope you had a great birthday on Friday. Hope you had a great birthday weekend. And Matt, just remember, I did you that solid. And we'll move on. Happy birthday to Rebecca. All right, let's get to what is going to be on the show today. Yesterday was Sunday. Saturday. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you whom it was with. But as part of a separate conversation, I was privy to be walked through some elite level data on Saturday afternoon. And there's a few things I think I can share with you that you may need or want to know just about the general cultural landscape that we are in right now. This is maybe the most impressive data presentation I've ever seen. I mean, what I was walked through was absolutely incredible in its capabilities, and the scope of the information that it has available to it. And that's all I can say. I won't say any more. I'm not even sure I can share what I'm going to share with you here at the bottom of the hour, but I think this information is so important. Since I wasn't told I couldn't share it, I'm going to, because you know me, I'm always going to err on don't ask for permission but beg for forgiveness, right?
You had us at you know me.
Yes. If you don't if you explicitly tell me don't say that, don't out me. I've never burned a source. I've never given anybody up. But you need to tell me that. And so much of this, they did tell me that. This part of it, they didn't necessarily. And so I think it is pertinent information for this audience in particular, given that we are a first and foremost biblical worldview show. And so we're going to discuss a little bit of that coming up at the bottom of the hour. And if you are intrigued, you will be. Even more so when I shared this with you coming up at the bottom of the hour when our good friend Bob Vander joins us. Next hour, this is supposedly now April 3rd, the day which shall live in infamy, Trump turning himself over after being indicted. I'm going to spend the entire next hour talking about this. Just not in the way most of my peers will. Unlike this actual exercise, which is not serious. It's a political stunt for all involved. But we are actually going to take it seriously. And I will share with you in detail what that means coming up in the next hour of the program, because this is actually an opportunity to do something that is pretty important and momentous, that might last and do more good than just an approaching 80-year-old political candidate looking for something to cynically raise a crap ton of money off of. I have no problem with cynically raising a crap ton of money off stuff. I don't have a problem with it. It's just I hate seeing it done at the expense or instead of things that could really make a principled difference, especially when you can still go raise a crap ton of cynical money off it and make that's the best political solution of them all. I can cynically raise a crap ton of money off something and do something principled at the exact same time. You rarely get those kinds of opportunities, and one is in the lap of Mr. Trump as we speak. But we'll discuss that in the next hour of the show and lay that all out. Before we get to Aaron's montage, though, some of you may have noticed the shirt today. One of our listeners printed these up for me. Gave me a few. I think I gave you and Aaron each one, correct? You guys
one
each
yesterday.
All right. So I chose to wear it today because ticket sales, pre-sales for Nefarious tickets are now officially underway all over the country. And we still don't know how many screens we're going to be on April 14th. We are still hearing from theater chains around the country with this glut of films. They are going to take this thing down to the absolute wire. So even as recent as this week, the battle is on. I've heard from so many of you already that have bought pre-sale tickets. Thank you very much. NefariousTickets.com is where you want to go. Write that down. Please share that with everybody you know. NefariousTickets.com. Share that link. You can go there, find out the theater that we have enlisted right now to show the movie. That's the closest to you. You can do pre-sales right now. This is the last arrow we have in our quiver to convince theaters around the country to carry us as opposed to these other movies that will suck. Ours doesn't. NefariousTickets.com is where you want to go. Again, NefariousTickets.com. And in fact, let me just give you a couple of examples of the hand-to-hand combat we're in right now with theater. So I was just down in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area with Pastor Mark Driscoll at Trinity Church he has down there. I got word this morning, I think it's Avondale or Avondale, probably Avondale. Avondale is a suburb a little west of Phoenix. There is the Gateway Pavilion in Avondale. If you are anywhere near that and you don't mind making a little bit of a trip, they are part of the Harkins theater chain, and they are persuadable for more. For more Nefarious around the country, if we can impress them in Avondale, at the Gateway Pavilion in Avondale. They are just west of Phoenix. Also, the Regal Cinemas in the Carolinas. I am told that Regal Theaters in the Carolinas, those are two areas, both Avondale just west of Phoenix and the Regal Cinemas in the Carolinas, where our audience, you guys could, in particular, you can be a big help all over the country at NefariousTickets.com. But in particular, those two areas, I'm told, may unlock more theaters for us in other places. All right. So Regal Cinemas in the Carolinas, if you can get tickets there or let them know you want them to carry the film. The Harkins Theaters in Arizona, especially the one at Avondale, those are just a couple of the locations that right now are really holding out at the end because of all the competition for screens. But you guys can help us make sure this movie gets out there. I read an incredible review this morning. Scott Moorfeld wrote over at townhall.com. I mean, it was an incredible review that he wrote about the film. In fact, let me find just kind of what I thought was the money shot line of his review. Quote, the movie is a gut punch to the established system, arguably more lethal than nearly any piece of pop culture art Christians have produced recently, in no small part because it is every bit as well made on every level as anything the established system has produced. End quote. In other words, we made a movie that looks and sounds and is of the quality of what they make, but we made it with our worldview behind it. And so if you want to help us, NefariousTickets.com is where you want to go. So, and thank you to all of you. I mean, I've gotten hundreds of emails this weekend from people that have already purchased tickets. So we appreciate each and every one of you. All right, let's get to it. Here is Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by Tranny Terrorism is a blessing of liberty. The spirit of the age doubled and tripled and quadrupled and quintupled down in support of the tranny terrorist who murdered 6 Christians last week in Nashville, Tennessee. President Joe Biden released multiple communications praising transgenderism on and around the so-called Trans Day of Visibility. Budweiser unveiled a new beer packaging desecrated with the image of the mentally ill dude named Dylan Mulvaney. Drag queens descended upon Minnesota State Capitol and twerked in front of young children. This headline at Fox News: Boston Children's Hospital director calls for a drastic increase in capacity of gender surgeries for minors. In Vancouver, British Columbia, Billboard Chris went to an event celebrating mental illness and was assaulted by a gruff dude with an Adam's apple wearing a dress right in front of police. Police who saw the event blamed Chris for instigating said assault despite having seen what happened right before their eyes. And last night at the Country Music Awards in Nashville, this is the Country Music Awards in Nashville, mentally ill dudes got up on stage and sung a song in recognition of transgenderism. Meanwhile, in New York, Ron DeSantis was on Long Island for an event promoting his book. He covered a lot of ground, but importantly discussed what's required of leadership in this country at this time.
But in this endeavor, there is no substitute for victory. The winners get to make policy. The losers go home. But victory is not easy. It requires demonstrating not just the right frame of mind, not just advocating the right policies, but it requires that you demonstrate the courage of those convictions. Because leadership in this day and age, with how powerful the left is in media and in entertainment and in bureaucracy and all these other things, leadership's not cost-free. When you step out, it could be a governor like me. It could be a mother who just goes to a school board meeting who's concerned with what's going on. They're going to come after you. They're going to attack you, and you're going to have to make those sacrifices if you want to save our country. But I think we have no other choice but to do that. After all, we believe in the founding creed of this country that our rights do not come from government, they come from the hand of Almighty God.
Douglas Mackey, also known as Ricky Vaughn, was convicted on Friday by a federal jury in Brooklyn on the charge of conspiracy against rights stemming from what the court calls his scheme to, quote, deprive individuals of their constitutional right to vote. When sentenced, Mackey faces a maximum of 10 years in prison. In case you're wondering what prompted this verdict, it's a meme Douglas Mackey created ahead of the 2016 election, jokingly saying Democrats could text their vote into a certain number and not bother having to wait in line. That's it. He's facing a decade in prison for making a meme and posting it online. Pfizer whistleblower Brooke Jackson had her case against Pfizer dismissed last week. Jackson alleged and has proof her former employer lied about clinical data regarding their COVID jabs. Jackson said on Twitter she's planning on appealing the case. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced this weekend he's running for president. He'll be out of the race before fall. That's really all that needs to be said. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene went on CBS's 60 Minutes and left Leslie Stahl speechless.
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles.
I would definitely say so. They support grooming children.
They are not pedophiles. Why would you say that?
Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Okay.
According to NBC News, that Chinese spy balloon that traversed the U.S. in early February did indeed gain intel on various U.S. military sites and transmitted said data to Beijing, despite the U.S. military's attempts to keep it from doing so. We also now know that the balloon had explosives on board believed to be for the purpose of self-destruction. And finally, speaking of China, their military has discovered a new tactic to use against us in case war ever breaks out.
Hello, brave soldier of People Liberation Army. As you know, our worst enemy is the United States of America. Traditional warfare techniques are not effective against their formidable forces. Luckily, we have found their weakness: misgendering. Our beautiful friend President Joseph Robinette Biden was nice enough to loan us some American soldier for this demonstration. Let's take a watch.
Hello there, annyeonghaseyo, as your people say.
First technique is to shout wrong pronoun at American troop. Watch this. He, him, you are he, him, you are he, him. I can see clearly, you are bearded man. He, him.
That's the Babylon Bee. You can watch that entire clip on their YouTube channel, and that's what happened while we were away.
Don't laugh. That's not even parody. That's not parody, guys.
I'm laughing through the tears.
Okay, then that's okay. Aaron's Montage brought to you by Eden Pure, which continues to get rave reviews in my inbox. I've gotten like 4 emails just in the last week and a half from people who made the purchase for the 3-pack of the Thunderstorm air purifier from Eden Pure and loved the results that they saw. You can get all 3 units now for under $200. And how this works so well is it's not just a freshener, it's a purifier. It'll actually kill what is in your air that creates the odors, the mold, the mildew, even bacteria and some viruses as well. All right, it actually kills it and it replaces it with that smell that you get after a fresh thunderstorm. Get all 3 units for under $200, so you can put one on every level of your home. Most of their competitors are upwards of $600. Probably don't work as well if we're being honest. They'll even throw in free shipping as well when you go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the promo code Steve for this deal. EdenPureDeals.com for this deal, promo code Steve.
I need to make a correction real quick. I will look this up before the show because I saw something on Twitter that confused me. I looked this up. I did a quick Google search, CMT Awards. The first Wikipedia description said it's hosted every year in Nashville, Tennessee. That was actually in Austin, Texas last night. Oh. Just want to make that correction. Doesn't make doesn't change anything. That was absolutely abhorrent, but just wanted to correct that.
Is before we get to that, because we're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about it. A few bullet points on some of the other items that, Aaron, you had in your montage. Have we found the meme of 2023? The look on Lesley Stahl's face when she is absolutely punched in the throat by Marjorie Taylor Greene there? Is that the meme of 2023? Remember a couple of years ago was the meme where the guy looks back at the hot chick as he's, walking with his girlfriend. That was the meme of a few years ago. Every year seemingly has its central meme. Is that the meme of 2023 right here on April the 3rd? The look on Lesley Stahl's face when Marjorie Taylor Greene just lays down ordinance and she doesn't know what else to say. And she's just silenced. Is that the meme right now?
It's only April. This is the end of this year. The amount of meme-worthy content that's coming our way. But yes, it does sum up a lot, doesn't it?
Yes. That face is called, I controlled the Overton window, damn it.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. This is not going the way that I had planned. Yes. And all Marjorie did there is confirm something that I've tried to tell you for years after doing interviews with these kinds of people and appearing on their shows very often early in my career. I promise you, there is no there. There is no secret information. There's no line of data that you're not privy to. There isn't. There's nothing there. That's why they don't give you demagoguery, because they just erroneously slid past all the hard, fast, irrevocable data at their disposal and took the low-lying fruit. No. It's in place of the fact that they don't have any hard, fast data, and all they have is low-lying fruit. That's why they do censorship and demagoguery. If they had superior arguments, they'd unload them on you. I promise you they do not. And props to Marjorie for proving that there. Here's all you need to know about Asa Hutchinson. He signed a law in Arkansas getting rid of masks in schools and then tried to repeal it. We're done here. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. All right, there's nothing else you need to know. He's got 50 other problems too, by the way, you could cite with him, but there's nothing else you need to know. He signed a law getting rid of masks in schools in Arkansas and then tried to repeal it. That's all that you know.
Vetoed a bill banning meatball surgery and chemical castration.
Yes, I mean, we could do this on 50 issues, yeah. And what he'll say is, well, I signed an abortion ban. He signed an abortion ban after we did all the hard work for him for 50 years and then absolutely aborted us on every other conceivable issue you could imagine, okay? Including he signed into law a ban on masks in schools and then tried to repeal it. We're done here. Moving on. The judge in the Brooke Jackson case has essentially ruled that since the fraud by Pfizer occurred after the agreement with the government was finalized, and therefore the government has no problem with being defrauded, you have no case. That's how the judge ruled in this case. The fraud occurred after the agreement was made, and the government has no interest in pursuing it, doesn't mind being defrauded. And so therefore, there's no fraud here.
This is the transitive property of the magical power of vaccines, Steve.
Yes. Yeah. And if you wonder, Brooke Jackson's story is illuminated in great detail in Rise of the Fourth Reich. She's one of our key witnesses. But she watched non-medical personnel injecting people. She watched studies where people are getting unblinded so that we don't have control groups. I mean, and she saw this at multiple Pfizer testing sites throughout the state of Texas. In her interview and all the other ones will make you want to smash things. Okay? But it's okay. It's okay that this massive fraud was created because the government signed on to it and had no issue with it, so therefore you don't have any standing. That's their argument, and the judge agreed. So let's bring us to what happened at the Country Music Awards last night. We'll get into this more next hour. But yesterday was Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is the eternal reminder that the mob is fickle. The crowd isn't always right. Even a majority of your own people can be wrong. Jesus enters into Jerusalem riding on a colt in fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. They wave palm branches at him, which is a sign of royalty and exaltation in the ancient world. They scream out Hosanna, which means God save us, Jesus save us. Many of those exact same people in a span of less than a full week, when he is put on trial unjustly, tortured to near mutilation and disfigurement, and then allowed to asphyxiate to death on a 300-pound wooden beam in the heat of the sun, slowly, painstakingly, for hours. Many of those same people that waved those palm branches either abandoned him or cheered, crucify him, or just give us Barabbas. That all went down in less than a week. A lot changes from Sunday to Friday, even in the ancient world. And they didn't have Twitter. They didn't have social media. They didn't have Instagram.
Life moves pretty fast, bro.
It does move pretty fast, yes. And Palm Sunday is the ultimate reminder of that. That convictions are greater than clicks, to put it in language that we would understand today. And sometimes it does require you going against your own people, your own side. They're not always right because they're wearing your jersey. I don't do this a lot on this show for fun, for ego. If anything, I'm trying to sell a movie right now. In case you guys have you guys noticed, I'm trying to sell a movie right now. Have I made that? Is there anything at all that would make anybody think I'm trying to sell a movie or anything right now? Or anything over Todd's shoulder? Anything I'm wearing on my shirt? I mean, I got an appointment at 4. I'm going to get a nefarious face tat before I head down to Dallas for the premiere tomorrow. Anything else?
The baseball caps are on the way.
Yeah, okay. This isn't the way to, what I'm doing here is not the way traditionally to sell a movie. I mean, when you're trying to sell a product that gets mass distribution like a film, you want mass appeal. And so you want to appeal to the masses, right? Yeah, I don't do that a lot here, and I'm not going to do that much today, next hour, or right now. Because I want us to win. I do this because I want us to win, and I just don't think self-delusion is a pathway to victory. I saw this take this morning on what went down at the Country Music Awards last night. And I saw it from a lot of people on our side, people I'm friends with, people I respect, and I just completely disagree with it. And I say that because I want what they're saying to be true. What went down at the Country Music Awards last night is they did a tribute to the people who were murdered by Tranny Madness in Nashville. They checked the box, and then they turned right around and gave you Tranny Madness. The very worldview that led to the deaths of those children and those adults at that Nashville Christian school, they then put it on parade. And so I heard this response, and I saw this a lot. Country music doesn't know who its audience is. Remember when we said Nike didn't know who its audience was when they did the Colin Kaepernick shoe? Do you guys remember this?
We did.
And literally one person in the entire conservative media said, I don't think that's right. I think Nike is actually going to print money off of making the shoes. Who said that? Me. I said that. We're not Nike's customers anymore. There's a whole other ecosystem out there. We're not. And who's the one they tried to cancel? Is it Morgan Wallen? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about modern country music. Okay. So, we get past the late 90s, and the end of the Garth Travis Tritt era, when Garth tried to create like his own alter ego emo. That was kind of my tap out, So I don't know a lot about contemporary country music, but they don't care how many times y'all make Morgan Wallen trend on iTunes. They don't care. Because they have 75 Kelsey ballerinis waiting in line to take his place, who will slurp the spirit of the age for food, who will do it for fame, for acclaim. We're going to talk more about that, by the way, in the next segment, too, when we get into some of that data. But you're not their customer. You might be Morgan Wallen's customer. You don't think the Country Music Award? What do you think? They moved the awards from Nashville to perhaps the most notoriously liberal city in all of red state America. And our response to that is they don't know who their customer is. No, they don't care. They did this on purpose. This isn't a lack of self-awareness. This is the same reason Madonna is doing a benefit concert in Nashville for trans rights. All religions honor their martyrs, folks. All jihads memorialize their fallen foot soldiers. They're not like us. They're not looking for accommodation. They're not looking for conscience clauses. They're not looking for a way out. They're not looking for cheap political stunts. This is religious level fervor, and they have almost all of it. They're evangelizing. Let's put that deep in the heart of Texas. The same week that the Texas state legislature gets overrun by trainee madness, and it looks very insurrection-y. How many of us tweeted that on the right? Except it's not an insurrection. You know why? No matter how it looks. You know why it's not an insurrection? Because the Texas governor didn't treat it like one, so it's not. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Insurrection is as insurrection does. Insurrection is in the eye of the beholder, baby. Because we are not a nation of laws. Hell, we're not even a nation of terms. We're not a nation of vocabs. We're a nation of nothing but just pure, hard political will, and that is it. And all the will's on their side. We will be completely consumed most of this week on our side by a pure political stunt. Meanwhile, the white witch is on the move. We don't know who our audience is, actually. We don't. We don't believe in God-given rights anymore. It's just a talking point. We don't believe in a republic anymore. It's just a talking point. All we believe in is who the next hero that's anointed as the one who can give me access and income for peddling a political agenda professionally. Over there, they're taking ground. they know full well who their audience is, and they intend to make you that audience. You know what's not fair? The fact that companies and apps like Netflix, they hide thousands of shows and movies from you based on your location. And that's, of course, when they're not selling your data to people who hate you at the exact same time or putting it up on the dark web. That's why you want to use ExpressVPN. So you might not know that what's on Netflix in your country is completely different than what's on in places like the UK, Japan, and elsewhere. So you can use ExpressVPN to change the address of where you are connecting to these apps from, and maybe end up with an entirely different menu of choices because of where they think you are signed in from. And also, you'll be protecting your data from them harvesting it to sell it as well. If you want to give ExpressVPN a shot, it is so easy to set it up, find out why it's won so many awards, why it's got so many 5-star reviews. You can stop paying full price for streaming services that only give you a fraction of their content. Get access to their complete libraries and your money's worth at expressvpn.com/Steve. Don't forget to use my link so that you get 3 extra months for free. 3 extra months for free at ExpressVPN, as in victory, pn.com. ExpressVPN.com/Steve. All right, let's bring in our good friend Bob Vander. You are here for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to let you go a little early because you're catching a flight down to Dallas. I hear there's a movie premiere down there tomorrow.
Really
that, you're
excited
be
about that.
Attending.
We are amped and ramped. Can't wait for this.
We were just during the break talking to a couple of your peers here in the office who went to the sneak peek that my church did on Thursday, and they've got all kinds of questions, and and when I've heard from so many people that I've let screen the movie so far, that movie messed with me. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. I know I need to see it again because there's stuff I missed that it's got so many different layers to it. So very excited that we're now getting close to the release of the film on April the 14th.
Well, real quick, Chuck and Danny are very deep theologically, and they were on the edge of the seat throughout the entire movie. And they both want to see it again as they need some clarity on some things. I think it's awesome. Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back.
Absolutely. Keep spending that $15 for a ticket over and over again, in fact. Yes.
I love it.
All right. Here's how I'm going to set this up. I cannot tell the audience whom I was presented this information by, in what context it was given to me. I will say this, it is from no one associated with the DeSantis presidential campaign, in case anybody's wondering. No, it's not. So I can't tell you the context. I can't tell you whom it was, and I can't tell you everything that was shared. But on Saturday afternoon for about 90 minutes, I sat in on maybe the most impressive data display I have ever seen. It is. I mean, I can't even think of anything close to it. What I was privy to.
It's a whole nother world, isn't it?
It is. I mean, but this is like stuff of movies, and I watched it in front of me come to life. Okay, I mean, no, I was going to say something. I'm like, no, I can't say that, so don't say that. But so there are 3 things. I can't say anything about the methodology, any of that. Okay. There are 3 things, though. I mean, there were many things that I learned in this presentation, but there are 3 things that I think I wasn't explicitly told not to talk about. And you know me, if you explicitly tell me not to talk about stuff, I won't. I'm good at that, right?
They just became a birdie.
Yeah, but if you don't explicitly tell me not to talk about it, then I will.
Yeah, sure you will.
Okay, so I won't talk about any of this stuff I was explicitly asked not to talk about. But there are 3 things that came out of this that I think this audience deserves to know. Let's start with the political, because it's the least important of the 3 points I want to discuss, and then we'll just throw it out there and move on. Okay. This data actually showed that Trump's overall election profile had actually was diminished by the indictment, meaning considering his odds of winning a general election and everything else, that his support in places like in Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina is even more intense than it ever was before. It actually showed that his support in the Midwest in particular was diminished by the indictment. It also showed that Ron DeSantis standing by Trump to the point of even offering to shield him from extradition actually hurt Ron DeSantis in some places like New Hampshire and other places. That his numbers went down in some of these places by offering Trump this. Let me just stop there so I don't say anything I'm not allowed to say. Your reaction to just that data?
Well, it's interesting. I got a text message from a national news reporter who you would know and asking for my private thoughts on the indictment. And my private thoughts on the indictment was it will intensify both sides. One is if you were a mega rally, Trump's my guy, I'm all in, this indictment is only going to embolden the support for the former president. And I think when you're saying that you see this in states like Mississippi or Alabama, or places like that, I could see that. But I think it also intensifies those making the argument that he's probably not the guy to take the baton and carry it in 2024 because there's an exhaustion level. There's a level of, I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to continually debate the past. And I'm not sure he can win. I think it intensifies that argument as well. So whoever showed you that data, that honestly lines up with my gut at this point.
Okay. Thoughts on DeSantis potentially being hurt by offering Trump protection?
You know, I honestly thought that was actually that was a smart move by Governor DeSantis to say that we're not going to offer extradition, for the former president, but to see that his support would get hurt by that. I'm trying to think in the primary world, I would not see that. Okay. I would see that as, hey, they're taking a shot at Trump, which is really taking a shot at you. I do believe this indictment in particular is one where they have weaponized the Justice Department. This is the most political of all the indictments that are out there, and that they would lead with this one, I think undermines all the other indictments as well. I think they should not have led with this indictment.
By the way, this data is very specific. This isn't, not one glove hand fits all.
Sure.
In certain parts of the country, that's why I specified like a New Hampshire, for example, for DeSantis, the Midwest for Trump. All right, let's get to the other 2 points that I think are far more important in the grand scheme of things. Okay, because 3 months from now, we're going to be sitting here, and maybe like in 3 weeks, remember when they indicted Trump? I mean, that's the way the news cycle works nowadays. Okay, the next 2 things are things of existential consequence. All right, how do I put this? Essentially, what this presentation showed me is the He Gets Us campaign is the absolute biggest waste of money. When you consider the amount of money it took to get on the Super Bowl, is arguably the biggest waste of money in the history of the of American Christian church, with no close second. That it did nothing in terms of changing any trend line of any magnitude, causing large groups of people to search other places for deeper meaning or further resources about Christianity. It literally was just someone farted in the theater during the loudest surround sound scene and nobody heard it. I mean, it was just it was nothing. I mean, it did absolutely nothing, is what this data showed me. Nothing.
And I'm not sure what the data is that you're looking at as far as the He Gets Us campaign. I'm trying to think what was the end goal there. Obviously, Jesus does get us, but he also wants us to get him. And so maybe, I'm trying to think, would this be trying to drive them to Easter services, which are experiencing Holy Week right now? I'm not sure, but to say that that was going to move the needle at any point other than a reassurance that, hey, Jesus gets us, he understands us, and you need to get him. But I don't think they ever connect to the dot of you need to get him. I think it's just more of he gets us. But there's another part of that equation of you need him. And we just talked about that in our team meeting today about either God is or God isn't. And that's the fundamental question. And if God is, we need to die to ourselves, accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior, and now align our principles and precepts according to God's standards, not looking at our inner God ourselves as saying, I'm God in my own life.
Do you think this is final confirmation of something that I have been theorizing? There is no more soft sells to be made. The culture has heard every soft sell We've thrown every guy in a Hawaiian shirt up on a stage on a pulpit. We've thrown every guy in sweater vest up on a stage on a pulpit. Pleated khakis up on a stage in a pulpit. We've come up with every form of original, hip-sounding music, lyric and song. That's resonating with nothing. Maybe that draws crowds, but it does nothing in terms of putting any meaningful dent in the spirit of the age and where we are as a society. There's no more market for that. That's been rejected. I can go all kinds of other places and find someone who feigns deity and relates to me on the level that doesn't require me to change whatsoever. And that just isn't going to work. Yeah.
Steve, whether you're a believer or not a believer in Jesus, you take a look at this world today and you understand this thing's nuts. This is crazy stuff. I mean, this is unraveling like crazy. Mm-hmm. So people are looking for real hope. And if the real hope is just be more like yourself, well, pretty soon you'll find out that's not a good thing. You don't want to be more like Bob or more like Todd or more like Steve. You want to die to yourself and try to become more like Jesus. They want real hope. They want real truth. And the thing is, Barry McGuire, who spoke at our leadership summit last year, he and I just had lunch in Arizona together, and he reiterated this phrase. He said, listen, everybody in the culture today understands this thing's insane, and they're looking for hope. And the thing is, 80% of them have a relationship with a believer in Jesus Christ who they trust. And the fact is, are you willing to share that real hope with them? And real hope is you need to thread that needle of, you need to deliver truth as well. And the truth is there is a God, and you're not that God.
Final thing before I let you go.
You bet.
And then I want to get you, Todd, and Aaron's takes on these 3 points. This presentation laid out all the major demographics at play in American society. And the one that has the most interest, particularly among young millennials and Gen Z, is essentially a group that is guided by fame, fortune, what's trending on social media. I mean, you saw this in the Wall Street Journal poll we all talked about a week ago. The only value in America that has gone up since 1998 is the pursuit of money. Mm-hmm. And I can't say more about why this is the case, but what I was shown with this data is this isn't just like a fad, okay? That the idea, okay, yeah, we all did this to some degree. My wife had, Tiger Beat magazines, okay, and we got the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model edition, mm-hmm. okay, that these are just fads. No, they're not moving on, right? They're not moving into adulthood, like traditional adulthood. They're not getting married. They're not having kids. They're remaining here. This is for affirmation, for esteem, almost a religion. And it made me think as I was being presented this. Let me see. Can I think of a spiritual being that's all about ego, fame, offering you fortune? Does that ring a bell to anybody at all? Okay. I mean, essentially what I was shown in this data is that a form of, I guess I would call it materialistic Satanism, is the dominant worldview of young millennials and Gen Zers. And that is only growing in the time in which we live.
When I reply to that, Steve, I'm thinking of the more things change, the more things stay the same. And I think of the book of Judges. The first generation lived and experienced all of God's amazing exodus, miracles, those things. They remained faithful to the Lord their God. The second generation was taught about what God had done for them, and they remained faithful to their God. The third generation was taught how to build bigger barns. And the way that ended was everybody does what's right in their own eyes. Because it's all about me. It's all about my fame. It's all about my fortune. It's all about what I can get out of the service. We're taught how to build bigger barns. And if we're honest with each other and we look in the mirror, even those of us who are in Christendom, we've been very good about teaching our kids how to build bigger barns. You teach them how to build bigger barns, they're going to build bigger barns. You're going to teach them this is all about you. It's all about you. Everybody wins. Everybody gets a trophy. Because you got to feel good about who you are yourself. They're going to do that. And so to me, this is a revealing trend, but it's probably kind of a common sense trend that this is what we probably should have expected. That's why at Holy Week at all times, understanding we need to thread a needle. And thread a needle is that we're all in need of a Savior, and praise God that He gave us one.
All right. We'll see you in Dallas, brother.
All right. God bless.
Okay.
Looking forward to the movie.
Thank you. Aaron, your thoughts?
So I thought all of that was fascinating. The one that stands out to me was the one that you went to last. The fastest growing in the next generation here. Essentially, what we're saying is they are just Satanists. Essentially. They're seeing the world and saying, I want that. That is my religion. That's all that there is here.
I will bow the knee for the kingdoms of this world. Yes.
Is that a little concerning? Is that bad? That's really bad.
I think we all agree to some degree it's not good.
But that's what stood out to me by far the most. How do you penetrate that?
Revival or bust.
Yeah.
Todd?
The He Gets Us stuff, it may have been a waste of money, but I don't think that's because the message was rejected. I think it's because the message is redundant. That's what most people are hearing in church. Why are you spending all this money telling us what we hear in church all the time? We get it. We're there. That's why I think it was a waste of money.
Which is another way, frankly, a better way of what I was trying to point out. What you said it better. They've heard this message is going nowhere.
Yeah.
There is no way to repackage the softer side of Sears. The soft sell is just white noise at this point.
Yeah.
Either I'm already receptive to it,
line now.
or I've already heard it and I don't care.
Yeah. And as for the generational thing, I think this is fascinating. I thought of a fantastic book I mentioned on the show before, The Fourth Turning. And it talks about the generational cycles throughout all of American history and how generations change as they get older and influence each other. And you come around and basically you have a cycle of 4 generations. Well, you're talking about the thing is it that on steroids? Is it the same as it's ever been before? Or is this the thing that breaks it?
Is this the last turning?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, guys, that's why we risked millions of dollars to make this movie, because all of us involved in it, from those of us who helped create the story, to those of us who raised the money, to those of us who crossed literally picket lines and risked blacklisting to work on the crew, everybody agreed we are at the lip of the mouth of madness here, and we're about to belly flop into Abaddon, and you don't come back from that as a culture.
If it wasn't called Nefarious, it should just be called Let's Find Out, because we need to know.
Yeah. Let's find out if this is a political stunt or really the end of the space-time continuum, let alone America, when we come back. All right, back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here alongside Todd Erzin, Aaron McIntyre, and all of you. And don't forget, this part of the show brought to you by our friends over at Relief Factor. Going about your daily life when you're living with pain is like walking uphill with a bag full of rocks. It sure would be easier to get up that hill if you could set the burden down, and you may know the feeling. That's why you want to deal with severe pain with our friends at Relief Factor. Once you begin taking it, you'll be amazed. You'll see your pain just go away. It is possible to set that pain burden down. Just give Relief Factor a shot. See what it can do for you. It isn't a drug, but it was developed by doctors to fight inflammation uniquely. You can try it today. Get the 3-week quick start. It's just $19.95. It's their trial pack. See if you don't see a difference in 3 weeks or less when you go to relieffactor.com. That's relieffactor.com. Or you can call them at 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF or relieffactor.com. Get the starter pack for just $19.95. Let us know what you think about what we think by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab, and Getter. You can also find me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter. Actually, Getter on Steve Deace Show, and TikTok and Instagram. And you can also find me over on Truth Social, but you got to really look for me there at Real Steve Deace. I'm not sure what place censors me more, Truth Social or Facebook? Who censors me more? Donald Trump or Mark Zuckerberg? I mean, it's close, guys. When I look at how my posts just get crushed on these sites. But nevertheless, he persisted at Real Steve Deace on Truth Social. And if you're a podcast listener, please leave us a 5-star review if you have yet to do this already. Thank you to all of you that have done that for us. Hit subscribe and follow for us as well. So I mentioned last hour that yesterday was Palm Sunday. For those of you that don't know what that is a reference to, or maybe you're new to Christianity, or you're not religious at all, or you have a different religious viewpoint, Palm Sunday is for the palm branches that were waved at Jesus as he rode victorious into Jerusalem on a colt. That is a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. And the people waved palm branches at him, a sign of exaltation in the ancient world, of royalty in the ancient world. They waved palm branches at him. They shouted, Hosanna, which means God save us or come save us. They referred to him as the Son of David. That is a reference. That's a messianic reference. And in just a few days later, by the time we get to Good Friday, many of those same people are either nowhere to be found when he is put on trial unjustly, tortured to the point of disfigurement, and then hung out to dry, literally, to the point of asphyxiation on the cross. Either they're nowhere to be found, or they showed up in front of Pontius Pilate and shouted, "Crucify him and give us Barabbas." And of course, this is the ultimate, eternal, cosmic reminder that the mob is fickle, that playing to the crowd can be a plus and a minus, and that sometimes your own people, these were Jesus' own people. Jesus himself is Jewish. His apostles, all Jews. All right, even among his own people, this was very divisive. And sometimes, to make a greater point, you end up having to oppose your own people, your own jersey, your own uniform. And that's why I'm going to tell you this. This entire thing with Trump, the indictment, the whole thing is a scam. The whole thing is a political scam. There's nothing serious about this on any level. Now, I'm going to lay out for you, as we have this conversation this hour, how it could actually be played for the serious stakes that many of the other places you will go to on the right for information are claiming we are playing for, but we're not. Unless your serious stakes are Donald Trump's fundraising for a presidential campaign, or the fact that he just knows how many of those digital trading cards they sell, like 500,000 or something, or was it 50,000 or 500,000? Was one of those two numbers, right?
Yeah.
But it was a lot. Okay. Brother, how many shirts are they going to sell with Trump's arrest photo on them? Can you imagine how many? I mean,
Democrats will buy
That's
them.
my point. That could be the best-selling T-shirt of all time.
It's the new smiley face T-shirt.
I mean, between Cheeto Jesus Saves and Orange Man Bad, they're all buying those shirts. All of them are. You want to talk about the ultimate fundraising mechanism? This is it. Okay? This is it. I mean, Trump's fundraising was dead, man. Absolutely dead as dirt until this came out. And his original proclamation that they're going to arrest me on Tuesday didn't really gin up the amount of money they had thought. But the actual indictment, brother, has. So what did I see? $4.5 million over the weekend. Over the weekend. What's it gonna raise when they have the photo, the arrest photo that's going to be on the T-shirt? This whole thing is a scam. Nobody is serious about any of this. Now, I took it seriously at first, and that's a mistake I'll never make ever again. From this time forward, as I told you guys on Friday, I'm going to rely on you guys to challenge me. Are you taking this too seriously? Because it's just a show. That's not to say that there shouldn't be serious stakes here with the precedent we are about to set, that we're just going to do flim-flam banana republic indictments of our political opponents in absentia because we can. But there's a couple of things about this I want to point out before I get into how this should be serious, but it won't be. Number one, I absolutely am offended and resent the idea that 3 years of Americans being illegally detained for an indefinite period of time with no trial, no relief, who didn't commit any violent acts. That's the end of America. This is the last straw. No, it's the indictment of Mr. Trump. Get out of here with that. The mass poisoning of the American people. That's not the end. That's not the final turning. That's not the point of no return. No, it's a sham indictment of Mr. Trump. That's the point of no return. 10,000 small businesses gone, never coming back. That's not the end. How does America come back? No, it's the sham indictment of Mr. Trump. He gets all the apocalyptic language. The suffering of his actual supporters, though, don't. That may be a lot of things. Let me tell you, though, what it's not. Populism. That's a hero cult. That's a grift. But it isn't populism. Excess deaths off the charts. That's not the point of no return. The sham indictment of Mr. Trump is, it's the end of America. It's not. It already was. That's why this stuff is happening. These are symptoms, not the disease. Maybe once or twice, and it may be more than just a handful of places here on the right, maybe we can care as much about the suffering of Trump's actual supporters as we do Mr. Trump. And the fact we don't freaking disgusts me. I hate it. Secondly, 2 Saturdays ago, Twitter was full of apocalyptic tweets. Putting the entire pressure of this situation in the hands of Ron DeSantis. Among the people putting that pressure in his hands was me. I even contacted people in his political operation privately. Came on the show Monday. I found his initial response to this underwhelming, if I recall, was my analysis. Insufficient. Thought he took an unnecessary cheap shot. I think I said that too, by pointing out this goes back to alleged hush money to a porn star. I thought that was just a cheap shot. Because, see, I actually believe there is a higher principle here, regardless of the circumstances. And there better be, because if a bunch of Christians are going to go out in full view of the world and defend a guy who's being accused of paying hush money to a porn star and concealing it, there better be a higher principle here than did he pay the hush money or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because is that typically that's typically the kind of stuff that, the people who wrote the Bible would say, don't cast your pearls unto swine, not our fight. Right? Right. So if we're going to expend whatever precious little capital, because I don't know, and which may not be much, frankly, that Christianity has left in America, on behalf of a case over whether or not a guy paid hush money to a porn star and lied about it, or didn't, or a lie of omission about it, it damn well better be about more than that, right?
Have you heard about the Trump Gets Us campaign?
Exactly. Oh gosh, you're trolling me already. I'm not even done making my own points yet. And I dig that about you, by the way. By the way, I'm not mad. I'm impressed. I was impressed that you did that. Thank you. So yeah, I actually believe there is a higher principle at play here. What we're going to find out in the course of the rest of this hour, though, is that most of the people saying there's a higher principle at play don't really believe that. And I'll prove it to you right now, actually. I won't bury the lead. The indictment comes down. Ron DeSantis does come out, make a follow-up statement saying exactly what you wanted him to say the first time. His office will absolutely shield Trump from extradition. What is Donald Trump doing right now as we speak?
On a plane to New York.
To extradite himself. So he's going to extradite himself. Why? Now, Steve, it might be obstruction of justice. So we have any precedent for a governor refusing to extradite someone in modern times to another state? No, there is no such precedent. So we demanded that Ron DeSantis risk committing obstruction of justice. We make no demands of Donald Trump. He does whatever he wants. That's not populism. That's a hero cult. And I'm going to keep telling you, and I'm going to keep rubbing your nose in it. I'm going to keep rebuking you for it. And I'm going to keep confronting you for it. And I'm going to keep smashing it. And I don't care how many movie sale tickets it costs me. How many clicks it costs me. You know why? Because it's right. And it's true. And the same thing that drove me to tell you those things that were untrue during COVID and other times when you liked me more for it is the same thing driving me to tell you right now, this is BS when you don't. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Throw that tweet up there, Aaron. This is from Tyler Bowyer. He is, by the way, a Republican National Committeeman in Arizona. Tyler Bowyer is a Republican National Committeeman in Arizona. In response to Ron DeSantis saying that he will shield Trump from extradition, here's what he writes. Look at this. It really shouldn't be Florida will not assist. It should be, quote, Florida will protect the president and prevent extradition with our state militia if necessary. So we're going to fight a civil war for Donald Trump. There, fixed it. Now, here's the thing. I'd freaking love it if Ron DeSantis put the Florida state militia around Mar-a-Lago. Are you kidding me?
That'd be your next movie.
I mean, my next move, I regret to inform you, I'm resigning from my position at the Blaze, and I'm moving my family to Tallahassee, and I'm starting the Show Me Your Ways Foundation. All right, because that's what I mean. I would. At my age, man, you take this level of gratification where you can find it, and that'd be politically orgasmic for somebody like me.
And based on what we're seeing today, we'd have potentially the visual of Trump's motorcade attempting to get out of Mar-a-Lago,
right,
to extradite himself through
right.
the militia that's trying to protect him from extradition.
So here's the thing, though. I went and looked at Tyler Bowyer's Twitter account last night.
Uh-oh. See
if there was any updates. Like, I would assume the guy who thinks this is worthy of calling the Florida State Militia. By the way, you know why there is a Florida State Militia? You know who started that? Ron DeSantis did. He actually started the Florida State Militia, his own militia. Okay? He actually started it. But they're in car sit in the ninth row. Okay. I'm going to crush all of you, and I'm going to enjoy it. And if it's my last act in this business, I'm okay with it completely, frankly. Okay. So the guy this Arizona National Committeeman calls for Ron DeSantis to call out the militia he started to protect Trump from extradition. Then Trump, through his attorney, announced that he'll be turning himself over to New York. He's going up to New York. He'll be turning himself in. Would you guys like to know how many follow-up tweets from this member of the Republican National Committee, Tyler Bowyer? Would you like to know how many follow-up tweets I looked at his whole feed for the next week since March 30th? Would you guys like to know how many tweets I saw from Tyler Bowyer demanding Donald Trump not extradite himself? Because after all, the future of the Republic is at stake, to the point that we should call out the state militia and fight a civil war over this. Would you like to know how many follow-up tweets there were there from Ron Bowyer?
It's either 0 or 1 that said 4-dimensional chess.
0. 0 is the number. This guy's a hack. I don't care if he's your friend. I don't care if you like stuff he said before. I looked at his Twitter feed, found a lot of stuff that I liked. But I can say all that stuff without being a hack. He's just in a hero cult. I'm sorry. It is true. He's in a hero cult. I agree Ron DeSantis has to risk his political capital for a higher principle. Didn't I make that case on this show?
Yes.
Did I not make this case on social media before we came on this show last Monday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Despite the fact, based on the data kind of factoid that you shared in the last segment, it's actually hurting him.
It's actually hurt him with the data that was shared with me over the weekend. It's actually hurt him. Why doesn't Donald Trump have to risk anything? That's how you know this isn't serious. It's just a Trump campaign. That's it. That's all it is. Those of you that protested for him on January 6th that he left behind, you're not important to him. Those of you he poisoned, you're not important to him. Because all he cares about is art of the deal. And if you're one of those people like that lady that told me on Twitter last week, I am Moderna vaccine injured, and Moderna only brought a product to market because Donald Trump gave them billions of dollars. They had failed their entire corporate career. Never brought one single product, not one mRNA, a product. Never brought a product to market successfully prior to Operation Warp Speed. And this woman told me, well, I don't even think he needs to apologize. It would be nice, though, if he mentioned it once. That's a cult. That's a cult. I will smash your cult. You won't stop me. I mean, this stage might get taken away from me. This platform might get taken away from me. I'll just be on a streets corner somewhere then, yelling to anyone who will listen, smashing your cult. Cults suck. They kill your conscience. They kill critical thinking. They kill the truth. They kill movements. This is just, the only thing this whole thing is serious about is Trump. You have a sham Democrat prosecutor that is attempting to make his bones off of Trump, and Trump taking full cynical advantage of it, and then turning himself over. Why? Where's Alex Bruce-Lewitz and all these Trump shills? Their demands, this RNC committeeman, this Tyler Bowyer, where are their demands that Donald Trump not self-extradite? Doesn't Trump know the space-time continuum itself is at stake? This is the end. Fire up the Jim Morrison. This is the end. Dun, dun, dun. Beautiful friend, the end. It's such an end. Dude's going to jump on Trump plane, take a nice 2.5 hour plane jaunt up to New York, get his photo taken, trademark that image, and sell the poop out of those shirts to schmucks like some of you. There truly is a sucker born every minute. And some of you are wearing my uniform. And so somebody needs to tell you this. Call this the Deace Gets Us campaign. I do. That's why I'm doing this. This whole thing's a scam. Whole thing's a scam. The whole thing is a show. None of this is serious. Don't get me wrong. It should be. It should be hella serious, the precedent that's being set here. Instead, here's the precedent that's being set. Donald Trump can do whatever he wants to any of you. He can poison you, leave you to rot in a prison cell, incite you into a riot. Tried doing that again last week. He can do whatever he wants to you. There truly are, just like he said 7 years ago, there are people, I could shoot someone out on Park Avenue, and as long as I say build a wall, these people will just be like, oh, he's right. He's never been wrong about that. That's a cult. Some of you need to be told you're in a cult. And since you already don't like me, I'll be the one. I'll nominate myself for that job. Plus, I just frankly enjoy telling you that. So I'm going to do it for that reason. Even if you did like me, I'm going to tell you because I like doing this. Like, I get off on it. I like smashing idols. I like crushing shibboleths of the damned. This should be very serious. It's not. And that's why he's going to self-extradite to a DA borough, or a DA from a borough he doesn't live in, and not accept the offer of protection from the governor that he demanded and then was given. Because this isn't serious. It's just a serious fundraiser. That's all. In the end, Donald Trump is serious about himself more than anything else. Now, since a lot of his enemies are ours, that works to our favor plenty of times, right? And every time that it has, have I not noted that?
Yeah.
I have.
Because for us, it's never been about Trump.
That's right. I don't care. I don't care if it's Donald Trump, Mr. Frump. I don't give a rip. Just do what I damn told you to do. That's all I care about. Just do what we like, and I don't care. The rest is not my problem. If we lose sight of that, though, we don't get what we want out of this guy. He takes advantage of you. And he's taking advantage of some of you right now. Because if this is serious, he'd be doing the stuff that my buddy and colleague Daniel Horowitz wrote about this week over at The Blaze. If he was serious about what a terrible precedent this sets, America may collapse. It's over. The earth may stop rotating on its axis. The classic Bill Murray speech from Ghostbusters, cats and dogs living together. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is coming around the bend. The hellmouth has been opened. If you really believe that, the way too many of you do, he'd be doing the following 7 things. Number 1, he'd actually have been funding the legal defense of persecuted individuals all this time. Some of you are under the auspices that he raised a bunch of money for these people. He didn't. This is something our colleague, or our buddy Jesse Kelly pointed out about a week ago. That's a complete misnomer, not true. I mean, how many of these January 6ers have had a struggle getting competent legal defense? He just left all those people behind to rot. I wish that weren't true, but it is, so I'm going to tell you. Because that's my professional job, to tell you what I think is true or know to be true. And then if it's not, you're welcome to question me on that. But that's true. He left those people behind there. Number 2, refused to be extradited. And DeSantis could be joined by other red state governors. Other red state governors could say, hey, yeah, all right, Trump wants to come do a rally in our state. Can you imagine the red state governor who would say, we are not going to protect Trump from extradition to the Manhattan DA? His new title would be former red state governor. I mean, that thing's over in 3 seconds. Done. Finished. Indiana may have the worst red state governor in the union. What's that guy's name?
Holcomb, I think.
Holcomb, knuckle dragger. He wouldn't even do that. I mean, my goodness, he'd get recalled, impeached in 30 seconds. I mean, if we're going to get nuts, let's get nuts. I mean, what if I really am just, if I'm Trump and nothing turns me on more than you kneeling before Zod to pledge your eternal loyalty to me, then let's put every GOP governor to the DeSantis test here. You know what I'm saying? Let's have them all say. Line them up. What are there, 28, 29 right now? Line them up one by one. I'm coming to your state to do a rally. You going to turn me in? Now that's an ego trip I would wholeheartedly support. Put them all on the record. Do you actually have a red state at all? Could you even be counted on to defend the figurehead of your party up against a complete sham of a partisan witch hunt? You want to talk about litmus test, Todd? That'd be one, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you can't, if your red state governor couldn't be moved to do that, get rid of him right away, as soon as you can. Recall, impeach, primary, right away. You know what you got. Put them all on the record. You want an ego trip? I don't want just DeSantis offering to protect Trump. I want them all to do it. I want them all to do it.
Become inevitable.
Yes, because here's what I also know. If they won't protect him,
right,
they're going to protect us.
Right.
No, they're not. Let's find out.
Yes.
No, I want a real ego trip. A real one. Like a real hero cult. At least, if we're going to be a hero cult, give me a real one. Not the Carney version. Not the Ringling Brothers version. Not the Omer Gantry version. Let's actually have Caesar save the city. If we're going to have a Caesar hero cult, then let's actually save the city. Go to every one of these states, put every one of these red state governors on the record. Will you let them extradite me in your state? Because I'm bringing my rally there now. The Red State Revealing Tour. Trump on the road. Let's find out if you got a red state governor or not. Because they won't stand by me. They ain't going to stand by you. Let's put them all on the record. I'm in. I'd sign up for that now. I mean, or we can just sell t-shirts. We could do that or sell t-shirts. We could do that, I guess. Daniel writes, slash the ABA monopoly. That's the American Bar Association. Has a monopoly on the entire legal profession to the point where people cannot obtain legal representation over the ABA's veto, meaning that if you're in bad standing, you're disbarred if you represent deplorables. Let's put that to the test. Let's have every Republican member of the American Bar Association, and trust me, if you're a Republican member of the American Bar Association, you only are because you have thought about running for office pretty much since you were in the 6th grade, okay? You want a political future? You think you're going to be a DA one day? You think you're going to be a congressman one day? Let's test you now. You going to break from the ABA on their partisan monopoly here? Give me a real hero cult. A real one. Raycon, R-A-Y-C-O-N. I just went for my walk over the weekend with some nice weather. Wore my Raycons. Still the best because I've got like these oddly shaped ears, you know, and the only ones that have the earbuds that I've ever been able to find that fit snugly, perfectly, stay sealed, they're plush, they keep the noise out and the sound in, are Raycon. That's why they're another reason why they're one of the more popular brands out there. Why my kids have ganked a couple of pairs of these from me over the years whenever I get new ones as well. They have so many great options at Raycon right now. And they know that in this economy as well, every purchase needs to be perfect. That's why they offer buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. They have an easy and free return guarantee if you're not satisfied with them, although I can't imagine that happening. They offer 2 years of product protection insurance for just a few bucks more. Just a few more reasons why they have over 50,000 five-star reviews. Over 50,000 five-star reviews. So go to buyraycon.com/Steve today. Buy Raycon, R-A-Y-C-O-N, buyraycon.com/Steve today. You'll get 15% off your order. When you do, you won't regret it. You just may have to hide them from your teenagers. Buyraycon.com/Steve. So we're continuing on with the fact that America is poised to be over. Because Mr. Trump is Daniel in the lion's den or something. He's extraditing himself. Ron DeSantis he's the governor. He's got to protect his most prominent citizen. I agree. So he did. And his most prominent citizen said, dude, I gotta sell the poop out of these t-shirts, Joe. I mean, how many text messages will we all be getting for the next 30 days? They're coming after Trump. Get your special indictment T-shirt, $19.99 for your love offering this month. Now, it could be made serious if we followed our colleague Daniel Horowitz's suggestions. What are we on? What have we talked about so far? He's talked about, well, let's actually fund the legal defense of persecuted individuals, not just, I think Donald Trump's going to be okay. You guys ever seen the outlay of Mar-a-Lago? I think he's going to be all right. Didn't they just arrest another grandmother last week?
Yep.
How many people that don't have compounds? Well, they're in a compound now, but how many people that don't have their own private tropical compounds have been in compounds and definitely detained for supporting him? Where's all their help? Where's all their resources? Why don't we go to every Republican governor and say, join with Ron DeSantis, you refuse to extradite. Bring the president to your state for a rally. I mean, if we're going to have an ego trip, let's have a good one. Let's have a real one. Okay, let's aim a little higher. Then can we sell some T-shirts with the perp pick? You've got the spirit of the age in the American Bar Association. Looks to punish people if they represent the wrong kind of deplorable. Well, let's put every Republican in the ABA on notice right now. Hey, you got to step up. You got to represent persecuted individuals. You got to disavow your organization. No? Well, then we'll remember you when you try to run for office, because that's probably why you're even a member of the ABA, because you're thinking about it. Here's the new one, or the next one from Daniel. Refuse cooperation with rogue federal agencies. Let's have red states pull out of all joint training, sharing of information, and help with logistics or intel to any federal law enforcement agency that continues to target people for their political beliefs. Is there a single person in this audience that would be against this?
No.
No.
Except for the FBI agents listening right now.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Yes. All right. Is there a single non-spirit of the age acolyte listening right now that disagrees with that?
No.
No. Again, if we're going to get nuts, let's get nuts. Did Daniel take a private plane? Take his own private plane over the Lion's Den? I literally saw somebody tweeting comparing this too. During the break.
Saw that too.
That's why I'm bringing it up. I just read this during the break.
You did?
Total idolatry, man. I don't know how else to describe it. Just total idolatry. Damn, we can't even cult right. Goodness. If we're going to have a Caesar cult, can it actually be a Caesar cult and not Hail Bop with a bunch of idiots and bull haircuts because Trump super PAC paid him $15,000 a month to tweet stupid poop like, this is like Daniel in the Lion's Den. It's insulting idolatry. Number 5, Daniel says, let's prosecute the left more zealotry. Let's fight fire with fire. There was a left-wing insurrection at the Tennessee Capitol, at the Texas Capitol. I think I even saw one at the Florida Capitol, too, as a matter of fact. Let's start hammering their insurrectionists. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Did you even hear anything from Governor Bill Lee there?
No.
Neither did I.
No. Who would be against this except, again, for the FBI agents listening?
If there ever is a Republican president again, it's every year around this time I get absolutely sodomized by the federal government doing taxes. I would be so happy to pay the extra $5, $6, $7 grand that I always end up owing. I'd be so happy to do that if the next Republican president used some of that tax money to absolutely bog down every spirit of the ager who is even remotely connected with anything having to do with the federal government. I would be happy to use resources in that manner.
Yes.
Why can't Republican governors do the same?
If we're going to be nothing more than a Caesarean cult, let's have a Caesarean cult. This is Julius Caesar kind of stuff here. Yes, I did stop the invaders, and now I will be completely destroying and smashing all of my domestic political opposition as well. All in favor? Aye?
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm in right now. Hell, I don't care if Trump changes his name to Franco. I'm in. Let's punish. Let's see some of that sword of righteousness against evildoers. Let's wield that thing, and let's gamble that we're being too, shall we say, trigger happy. That we're being too aggressive in wielding it, as opposed to fighting over who gets the trademark for the T-shirts that we're going to be selling. Daniel continues on. He even introduces a piece of legislation. Pass the Political Targeting Prosecution Act. Defendants can theoretically assert any equal protection clause violation. However, practically, the courts have made it impossible to succeed in a claim of selective prosecution defense under that same equal protection clause. As such, Congress should pass the Political Targeting Prosecution Act, which would accord defendants the opportunity to present evidence of political targeting based on animus for the individual's religious or political beliefs. Remember when Jack the Baker won at the Supreme Court? What was the rationale for why the court sided with him? That they could find no other reason why the state of Colorado would be going after him other than religious animus. So we know these Republicans love the Supreme Court precedent. We gotta have the Supreme Court precedent. Okay, you got one. We gotta get a Supreme Court precedent. Got it up for you. Okay. Lip-wristed morons. We got you your Supreme Court precedent already. Didn't they form a weaponization committee?
Yes.
We got a weaponization committee. We've got a Supreme Court precedent against political targeting for animus in the Jack the Cake Baker case.
Yep.
So let's do this. Let's have a Political Targeting Prosecution Act. Let's roll. Or sell T-shirts.
Instead, they're calling our bluff and sending a guy to jail for a meme about Hillary Clinton.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Too bad his name's not Donald Trump. We'd be stopping America to help that poor soul avoid prison. But his name's not Donald Trump, so sucks to be you. Number 7, fair jury pools. Now, this one I find fascinating. Daniel's point here is that when you're dealing with national politicians, they truly can't get a jury of their peers until the prosecution is moved into or national political movements or issues or debates. They should actually have those cases federalized and have a broader jury pool than just what is in that particular blue area where you can just use these people to politically target your enemies. I think that's a fascinating point. Now, I could also see, frankly, though, how this could get abused. I think all of us want to be very careful before we federalize almost anything nowadays. But again, good conversation to have. I'm guessing Mr. Trump won't be getting the fairest shake from the Manhattan grand jury. Thoughts, right?
Sure.
So we could do that. Or we just sell T-shirts. That's why Brutus stabbed Caesar. Didn't give him the trademark on the fundraising T-shirt. Gave it to Alex Bruslowitz and what's his nuts grifters that we're going to learn the names of this cycle. Gave it to them instead.
Now, stick with me here. What if the T-shirts, along with his face on them, also replace the snake and it says "Don't tread on me"? Now, are we getting closer?
No,
because the shirts are being printed.
Yeah. So that's a fantastic piece by Daniel. You can read it over at the Blaze. I mean, this is the stuff we should be talking about, but we won't. Almost nobody else will bring it up. Because none of this is about any kind of a policy outcome. It's just about whatever outcome particularly enriches and benefits Donald Trump and his acolytes. That's it. So it benefited them to attack Ron DeSantis to offer them extradition. He did. Now it benefits them to self-extradite because this isn't about you and it's not a populist movement. It's about him. It's actually always been about him. It's always been about him. But it worked to our favor more times than not because his enemies are the same as ours. But now it's just about him. It's just about him. To the point now that his own supporters will be left to rot in jail cells. Many of my colleagues in this industry who said not a damn thing when their audiences were dying suddenly, collapsing suddenly, now make Trump out to be Daniel in the lion's den. This is a hero cult. And it's not even a really good one. Because if it was a good one, we would be so concerned about him becoming a Franco-like character. Too eager to wield this power for his own volition, for his own biases, that we'd have to be the contrarian dissenter saying, like John Adams representing the Redcoats at the Boston Massacre trial. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're going too far here, guys, and someone needs to say so. No. There's nothing principled happening here. Nothing real happening here. This is just a grift. That's all that it is. And the fact no one will do any of these things, no one will demand any of these things, this is just a grift. You're the mark. Pay him the $29.99 for the T-shirt. Save America again or something. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
The T-shirt's made in America or not?
If the T-shirts end up being made in Taiwan, I might just end up, or China even. The next thing you see tweeted from me might be goodbye, cruel world. Okay.
I am really, really proud of you. I think you've come a long way in the
You're
last
proud of me for putting your job in increasing danger?
Yeah, well, that's I knew that's the route I was getting on. Forever. I'm absolutely Scotty. I like this ship. It's exciting. But no, this is why when I've been talking about, I was hoping you'd get to this point with it because this is the weather thing I'm talking about with Trump. And I think you're going to be better off for it by now just accepting that this is a unchangeable given. I wish it were different. It's not. And this helps you distinguish between Trump the candidate and Trump the guy that we often supported at times when he was president. And I would do it again, and I have no regrets because I would just want to stress once again what I said before. For us, as Trump, the president of the United States, it was never about him. It was about the country we love. And when we didn't want to vote for him the first time, it was the same. And when it was about me and Steve supporting DeSantis right now, same thing. That's not even about DeSantis. It's about us loving the country. So everybody who the shadow that Steve has cast now regarding Trump cult on you, if that shadow's hitting you right now, please, for the love of God, Donald Trump is not worth it. No,
because nobody is.
I was just going to say, because nobody is worth this, particularly since this is Holy Week. Get your house in order. There's no time for you to be sitting, as for me and my house, we serve Donald Trump. Try harder.
I think this goes without saying, and well, it doesn't go without saying. That's why I'm saying it. If you hear this conversation, if you're still with us, and you hear the term Trump cult, we are not talking about all of Trump's supporters. There's a DeSantis cult out there, too. I'm quite sure. There's every major politician has a cult following. That's what we're referring to. If you draw any form of derision or frustration with us for just saying that a Trump cult exists, you need to ask yourself, maybe I put too much stock in this guy. Maybe.
Back at it again tomorrow. Until then, John 3:17.
This is Steve Deace.